the difference between buying, renting, or leasing, and what's best. So basically, the math doesn't change for what we're doing today. All it is just the practicality, basically, is what we're looking at. What makes sense for you? What can you afford? How can you check to see which is the better offer? So buying outright, obviously, the biggest thing is you need quite a bit more money up front. All right, but that's not necessarily true because there's often when you're financing either vehicles or you're financing furniture, you can put no money down and then have higher interest rates. All right. This one pertains to basically two different things: renting or leasing, just like places to stay, accommodations, or vehicles. That's kind of what we're going to look at today. So when deciding whether to rent, buy, or lease, each situation is unique. A cost and benefit analysis should take everything into account. Costs include initial costs and fees, short-term costs, long-term costs, disposable income, the cost of financing, depreciation and appreciation, and penalties for breaking contracts and equity. Benefits include convenience, commitments, flexibility, and personal needs or wants, such as how often you want to buy a new car. When renting, leasing, and buying, you often need to make payments up front. Some payments go toward the overall cost, such as a down payment on a house or a lease deposit and the first and last month's rent. Other deposits, such as rental damage deposit, may be refunded at a later date. Appreciation and depreciation affect the value of property. They are usually expressed as a rate per year. And equity can make buying a house a form of an investment. The word equity means that that's how much you put into your actual house. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean all your payments, because each time you make a payment on a house, the bank's taking interest off of it. The difference between what your payment is and how much interest the bank takes is what we refer to as your equity. That's what gets put into your house. But we're going to look at mortgages in greater detail in another section. So let's look at the example then. We're comparing three options for a girl going to school. Morag is a co-op student at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. She has been hired to complete a 16-week work term in White Rock, about 50 kilometers from Vancouver. She's considering three options. First option, rent a room in a bed and breakfast in White Rock for $400 per week. The cost would include all utilities and meals. Second option is lease an apartment in White Rock for $1,200 per month. She must pay first and last month's rent up front, plus a refundable damage deposit of $2,000. She also needs to pay about $200 per month for all utilities. Third, buy a used car for $12,000 on credit with regular monthly payments of $1,000 and interest at 3.2% compounded monthly. She would live in Vancouver with her parents for free and commute to White Rock daily. Driving costs such as gas, insurance, and maintenance would be about $250 per week. The car would depreciate in value by 20% each year. Which option would you advise Morag to choose and why? Okay, so the first one is the rent. Rent a place in White Rock. Rent is $1,200 per month. Oh, sorry, $400 per week. Okay, so let's find out what she's going to, how much that's going to cost her. So 16 by 400 is what? $6,400. So at the end of 16 weeks, if she lived there, it would cost her $6,400, but that also includes utilities and meals in it. Okay? So at the very end of this work term, she's out $6,400 with zero to show for it at the end, just fine, might be necessary, but her total cost would be $6,400. Her second option would be lease an apartment in White Rock for $1,200 per month. She must first pay first and last month's rent up front, plus a refundable deposit of $2,000. She also needs to pay about $200 per month for all utilities. Okay, So let's work on our costs then for the lease agreement. First thing is $1,200 by 4 payments, correct? Okay, which is $4,800. Plus, what else does she need? Utilities, which is about $200 per month. So that's another $800, right? So now we're at $5,600. That's utilities. So this is lease. This is utilities. Okay. Also, what else does she need? She needs a damage deposit. So that guy comes right over here. So that's plus 2,000 over here. So her total at the end looks like it's 7,600, but it's still only what? 5,600 if we don't include that damage deposit. Let's say she gets it back. Okay? So her end game total would be $5,600. We all agree? So is that better than the rent?
Yeah, but the rent has the food included.
The food's included. This guy doesn't have food, right? Okay, so now we have to add on food, but we don't know what that would be approximately. Okay? And more than likely, it's probably, I think if we put $100 a week, I think we'd probably be on the low side maybe, but $100 a week, that would be another what, $1,600? Which would take us up to $7,200. So it pays a little more than that. All right. That's provided $1,600 covers it.
Yeah.
Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Probably should. Okay, but it's hard to really say. Now there is one other issue with the lease. How much money do I need up front for the lease agreement? What do I need up front?
44, isn't it? 4,400.
Yeah, 2,400 for the first and last, right? So that's 2,400 for your your rent payments, plus the $2,000 deposit. So before she even enters into it, she needs a minimum of $4,400. So that's certainly something that she's going to have to look at. Okay? So the difference between the lease and the buy, right, or the lease and the rent, sorry. So the rent right now, hard to say, but probably looks like a pretty good deal, right? What did they say the utilities were in the first one? It was included in the 400, right? Okay. So far that's where we're at. Does everybody understand that? So again, it's not about the amount necessary, it's about what you can afford at that point in time. Okay? Now, great, needs 4,400, gets 2,000 of that back, and then only pays 2,400 for the next 2 months. Okay? But again, it depends, basically it's going to depend on how much that food costs, is the difference between the two. Correct? Okay, so now, what if she buys a vehicle? So we have to look into everything that deals with the vehicle now.
Is this on with the lease, or is this a new one?
This is a separate one altogether. So it says buy a used car for $12,000 on credit with regular monthly payments of $1,000 and interest at 3.2% compounded monthly. She'd live in Vancouver with her parents for free and commute to White Rock daily. Driving costs such as gas, insurance, and maintenance would be about $250 per week. The car would depreciate. Okay, well, let's look at that first part then. So just alone, if we just focused on $250 a week, what is that worth to us?
Okay.
4,000? borrowing 12,000 right now for the vehicle. All right. So let's find out how much she's going to pay, and we're going to focus just on let's focus on our 16 weeks only for this. Okay, so our interest rate on this guy was 3.2%, correct? Our present value is $12,000. Our payments are $1,000 a month, correct? Yeah? Okay. Our future value we don't know. Our payments per year is 12. Our compounds per year is 12, right? And we want 16 weeks. So I'm going to put 16 payments down here. Is everybody okay with that?
I put 16 over 52 for that.
You put 16 over what, sorry?
52. So she's got 16 weeks, is that right?
Yeah.
So I put 16 over 52 of a year. Or no?
Payment per year, she has to be times it, because they pay it per year. They need to know how many payments you get.
Yeah. Okay. I understand what you're saying, Bodie, actually, in that sense, but because of the payments per year, right? Okay, so, all right, so this is what I'm at. So let's find out what the future value on that car is. How much? 3,801.65. So what does that number represent? What is it, Jake?
Is that the amount of interest? Or is that how much she's paid off in 16 weeks?
Okay, I think I'm gonna back this up. I don't think I approached this properly. Okay? What I wanna do right now, I'm gonna find out, let's find out how much I paid for that car in total. Okay? So to do that, so I'm gonna back this up a bit. That would have actually been how much I paid it off.
Yeah, how much you paid.
Okay? And then the difference would be what I was owing on it. Alright? But let's do this differently. Let's find out how long it takes to pay that guy off. So let's find out how long it takes to pay it off. 12.212. Okay? And that's times that by 1,000. Just times that whole number by 1,000. 45 cents. So that is what the car costs. Total. Okay? At the end of it. Alright? So, even though, okay, so this is actually 12 payments. So what does that tell you? She actually has it paid off before the 16 weeks is up.
Yeah.
Right? So how much did it cost her to travel back and forth between Vancouver and White Rock at the end of this? Well, she's paid the $12,212.45, right?
She doesn't have that paid off on the 16 weeks, because it's monthly payments. She only makes 4 payments of $1,000.
What's that? She only makes 4 payments of $1,000 bucks?
Because it's monthly payments, and she's only for 16 weeks.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So 12, so it's a year. So it's a little year plus, right? Yeah. Okay. All right, so, but she has to pay it off. So what they're doing is they figured this out not just for the 16 weeks. They're saying, okay, wait a minute. You have to pay the whole thing off, and in the end you have what? You have a vehicle at the end of this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so she can still do it. So for the 16 weeks though, I also had $4,000 more, right? So in theory, that's what it would cost her to go to school for 16 weeks, to buy a car, paying $4,000 for those 16 weeks in fuel and expenses, right? And she'd have a $12,000 vehicle, less what?
20% each year.
20% of the $12,000, right? Because after a year, it's going to depreciate 20%. Okay? So, we have 3 examples now. Example number 1 was renting $6,400. It's easy. It has nothing to show for it at the end. Also has no excess startup fees. Right? Plausible option. Leasing, she'd need what? What did we say she needed at the start of it? $4,400, right? Right up front. So she'd have to have $4,400 up front. And then that one would work out to about $5,600 in just the living costs, but we'd have to tack on food onto that. Okay, so if we tack on food at $100 a week, even if we tacked on food, let's say $50 a week, probably isn't gonna be much, right? $50 a week, that'd be $800 on top of that. 800 add on 5,600 takes you still over top of that, right? Or right to it. 64, yeah, 56 and 800 is 6,400. So she'd have to eat only $50 of food a week in order to make the lease and the rent be the same, right? And you consider eating out one time is $12.
Yeah.
You eat out one time in 5 days, it'd be $12. I mean, you could, I suppose. So there's that option, and then the final option was the car, in which at the end of it, at the end of the year, after 16 weeks is done, you'd have a car. So it cost her $4,000. We said for what? Just for the gas and insurance and stuff, right? But in 16 weeks, she also has 4 payments of $1,000, right?
Yeah.
So for just that 16 weeks, what's it going to cost her? $8,000 for just that 16 weeks, right? Because she has 4 $1,000 payments, plus she has $250 a week of gas and insurance. It would cost her $8,000 for that 16 weeks.
But she also would have a car.
But she also, at the end of it, would have a vehicle. And could sell it back.
No, it wouldn't be
Or
worth much.
Well, it's only worth 20% less, right? So take 20% off of 1,200.
It's not even.
What is that?
It's not
But then when you.
2,400, right?
It would be 20% yet, it's not even the year that she has.
No, you're right. So, well, let's take that out. It'd be 2,400, right? So now you're looking at 2,400 off of 12,000, $9,600. Sound right? So if she sold it back,
1,600.
she comes out in front at $1,600. So
I would go with that.
option there. Okay, what's the other thing? Other things that you want to consider? Driving every day. It's 50 kilometers. So it's from here to Russell, here to Grandview every day. Okay. Highways. You gotta think. Is it winter? Is it summer? What's the driving like? Okay, right? So lots of factors can go into this.
So can these questions be like either way?
Yeah, oh yeah, they're 100%. All you have to do is explain yourself.
Oh, because she can pick this or the rent.
Yeah. Well, she could pick it in, like whatever, and you could flat out explain it why.
Okay.
And as long as you give reasoning, and that's the thing about this, is if you give reasoning for it, they'll take it into account as okay, that's fine. If you believe that, you're right. You provided the details for it. Okay. Boys, today, there's only 5 questions in this unit. No, sorry, there's 8. And questions 7 and 8 deal with mortgages.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to look at question 7 with you. And I'm hoping I can pull this up. Just give me a second here.
Okay, and I like this miraculously put my hand in it. It's like, just spontaneously. Where's she going?
Okay, so I'm going to shrink this guy for a second. The first thing I'd like you to do right now okay. The first thing I need you to do is in black writing on this first board here. You're going to want to write these steps down right now, please. Okay? So, just the black writing. Don't write the blue in there. Just the black writing. This is an example of a question, and this is an example that we see on the exam. So, I want you to write it down. Again, you have a cheat sheet. This is what the cheat sheet's for. So just write down what's in black here. It looks confusing right now, but when we go through the question, you'll see. It's not that bad. So write down what's in black.
Yes, everything's black.
Number 7 doesn't seem to do that, does it?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I did it almost normally. But like, then again, I didn't actually with that one.
You didn't use it?
Well, as in I'm not in the question. So, I don't know.
Okay. Alright.
I would be right, but
We'll find out soon enough.
Just too much.
5 years. 5 to 8 annum. You don't have to write the 185,000 part down. In 5 here, don't write this down either. This is 185,000. That's part of an actual question.
It's been confusing answer, right?
What's the problem?
what is
Well,
it?
number 4 says left going, but you spelled like going, all lowercase except the G. So I don't really know what it was in there. So
A lot of emphasis on the G at the end. Fully.
it really confused me.
If that's all that confuses you on the chicken scratch, I'm okay.
It's the most overwhelming, I suppose.
Okay.
I'm not even close. I'm the one class.
Number 7, don't put the numbers in either. Yes, Jeffrey.
On 5, what did you say cost was after 1? After
5 years. That's pertaining to the question as well, but you'll understand that in a second.
Remember Drew's, one on like AF, EMTS, what's that?
Amount of payments times the payment.
It's not hard to understand.
Do we really get brackets down for number 5? Like the 18?
No,
That A?
I wasn't really listening when you were talking. So just kind of
don't write the numbers down.
I just kind of
Maybe this really, being the good friend I am, you should let me get Karen's calculator, cause, oh, I can go get it. No, cause I need something from my office. Thank you.
You're such a great friend.
Yeah, you're welcome.
What's that?
What does it cost?
after 5 years.
How are you still?
This is from your.
This is for mortgages, yeah.
Can you, leave if I pay off your mortgage?
Yeah, this is what we're talking about.
Oh,
So if you read, the question says,
Yeah.
she's gonna sell the house after 5 years, if he's gonna sell the house after 5 years. I don't know if that's it, this one's 6 years. So we'll look at that. And it'll make more sense.
what's the cost of the thing for this actually?
The cost to her, so she takes the amount she's paid minus her profit, which you found in 6.
I'm just gonna explain what's wrong.
Well, no, I'm not sure, no, just work on a different piece of paper and see how you made out.
Okay.
Don't erase it yet, because there might be parts that you want to see. Okay, is everybody done with this? Ready to go to the next one. Alright. I need to insert sheet. Okay, so let's read this question. So again, this is the one question that has a lot of work to it. It's not terribly difficult because you have this beside you now. Alright? So Ronnie and Jackson are looking for places to live. Ronnie decides to lease a house for $1,500 a month. Let's not worry about Ronnie yet. Jackson buys a house for $201,900. The bank has offered Jackson a 15-year mortgage for 80% of the cost at 5% interest, compounded semi-annually with payments every 2 weeks. They both move after 6 years. Jackson's house has depreciated by 2% per year. All right, so what we're trying to find out, okay, well, first of all, if we look at just Ronnie decides to lease a house for $1,500 a month. So find out at the end of 6 years what that was worth. 1,500 by 12 by 6. Punch that in. What is it, sorry? 1,000? 108,000, does that sound right? Okay. So at the end of 6 years, he's out 108,000. So this guy has leased it, he's out 108,000, 0 to show for it at the end. Okay? This is a hard thing to comprehend at your age. Renting sucks. It really does. Because you're just basically giving away money and you have 0 to show for it at the end. Now most of you will not have the luxury to do anything but rent while you go to school, but if there's any way possible that you can even rent to own something, okay, apartment-wise or condo-wise or house-wise, you know, somehow, some way, that's in your best interest, all right? But again, it's usually higher costs and tougher to deal with because you're financially not where you need to be yet. Yeah.
Like a guy like me, why would I rent to own a place in Brad?
Why would you rent out? Because then you sell it at the end. Right? And in your case, Bodie, and in your case as well, you've got 3 siblings, well, 2 of which possibly could go there, right? So let's say Brock and Tess, now you continue to do the same thing. You can rent it out to somebody else. You can sublet it, it's called, right? Rent it when you're not there. So yeah, there is, it does make the most amount of sense to do it, right? But it's hard. It's hard because that's usually not an option for you. All right. But you can also, the thing is, if you find a house, and it's not easy, but there is ways you can find houses that your monthly payment, if you're with 2 or 3 other people, your monthly payment is probably less, like for a mortgage payment, would be less than what you would pay for rent. All right, now think of it, 4 people renting for $400 a month. Okay, that's each. So that's $1,600 a year, or $1,600 a month. All right, there's a lot of mortgage payments you could make at $1,600 a month if the 4 of you were to do that. Okay, now again, these options are not easy because financially, you're probably leaning on your parents more than anything right now. And that makes the most amount of sense. Okay, anyways, let's look at this 201,900. All right, so first off, he has to put 20% down on it. So there's the first thing that we want to calculate. So to calculate how much his down payment is, 21,000 or 201,900, because the bank's only going to offer 80% of the mortgage, right? So we need to find out how much he has to put down on it. So I times that by 20%. What do I get?
40,000.
A little louder, please. 40,380. Okay. So again, he's got to have 40,380 right now. Right? So you got to have that up front in order to buy the house. Okay? Now we talked about that in a second.
I should sit in this classroom. Beginning of next period, can I bug you for lockers,
Yes.
please?
I'm out. We have to check with the girls came this morning. I don't have another locker.
Okay, cause Sam, you said 129?
129 out here.
Yeah, no one's.
Okay, I had somebody on my list, but I can look.
Okay, well,
The
Dave
only
said he has lots, so.
Okay, I don't have any. I had
Should I just do them all through Dave?
yes, because I checked all my lockers. 132 and 133 are the only ones on my list, and there's 2 from his room that are in my 2
Oh,
lockers. So I have.
I'll just
I
do
went
them all
along
with
and checked.
Dave then.
Thank
That's
you.
okay,
Yeah. Okay, so you need $40,380 down payment. All right. Now and this goes back to you guys again. Banks will give you a mortgage at 95% the cost of a house if you're a first-time home buyer. Okay? So that means that you would only need 5% down on your very first house that you're going to buy. Okay? That's a big deal. As you have owned before, it'll go to 20 and 25%. Because what their thoughts are is you would take the equity out of your first house and you would put it down on your next house. Make sense? Okay? Again, ask questions if you don't know or you would like to know something because this, again, is important. All right, so that leaves me with, I'm going to put NIPV payment, future value, payments per year, compounds per year, and what am I left owing? What am I borrowing from the bank now? 161,520. Do I know where we got that number from? Yeah. Yeah. Or if I had it times it by 0.8. Right? Both good? Okay. All right, so now 5% interest his payments are done every 2 weeks. We don't know what they are. The compounds are semi-annually. Okay, so the compounds are semi-annually. That's a 2, right? What are the payments per year? 26. Every 2 weeks, so he's making 26 payments a year. All right? So what I want to do is I'm going to find out the future value when it's 0. Okay?
Where do you get the 26 from?
He's paying every 2 weeks.
Oh, I wanted 52. No, but, okay,
Yes.
gotcha.
Yeah. That's right. Okay. He's got a 15-year mortgage. So 15 years by 26 payments in a year is how many? How many payments is he going to make total?
I said 352.
Ooh, that seems high.
300.
So 15 by 12. Or sorry, 15 by 26.
Oh.
390, I think, is the right answer. Right? So 390 payments. Okay. All right, put your pencils down for a second. So my objective right now is to find out how much his payments are going to be to pay off the loan in 15 years. That's my objective. Then I'm going to factor into the actual question, how much did he pay in 6 years? Because he's selling the house at the end of 6 years. So I want to find out how much did he pay in 6 years? How much money is he going to get back out of the house in 6 years? Because I want to compare it to the other guy. And the other guy paid how much? 108,000, right? Okay, so let's find out, first things first, I want to find out the payments here. So what are his payments?
$695.88.
What did you get?
$695.88.
I don't have that. I have it lower than that.
589.
What did you get?
589.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh, 7.
I put 96.
$589.08.
Is that what everybody else got?
No, I don't know.
Say on there.
This is what you got?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, 586.88.
We have 589 and 8 cents.
Yeah, same Bowie.
I got 586.
Okay, check your numbers again. 390, 5,
Yep.
161, 520.
Yeah.
You sure?
Oh,
0?
my compound's changed to 26, I know.
Oh, yeah.
same.
Okay, they'll change one, so you gotta make sure of that. They'll, if you change your payments, your compounds will change to the same thing. So you gotta change it. Okay, so what was the actual value? 586.88. Okay. So far, so good? Alright, so let's find out what we've done so far. I need to find out how much I borrowed. So we borrowed 161,520. I found out my payments. Okay? Now I need to find out how much I paid after 5 years. So I want to find out that amount after 5 years,
Or would it be 6?
or 6 in this question, thank you. Paid. So what do I got to do? I take 586.88. I make 26 of them in a year by 6 years. So find out how much you paid.
91,553.
What was it times 5?
I got just slightly off years, but like by cents. What did you get?
I got 91,553 and 28. Yeah, I got that too.
You guys all get that?
What was supposed to come from?
Lexi, number of payments by your payment.
Oh.
Follow your.
4.
Okay, so all right, let's write that down then. Sorry, I have a bit of a different number, but let's use it. Go ahead.
91,552.84 cents.
553.
I got 553. Yeah.
That's what I got here, but if you don't round it, then you get a little bit less.
Yeah, I got this number here, Jake.
Yeah, that's if you don't round it, but if you do, then.
Which number were you rounding? The 586.88.
Yeah, if you don't round that, then you get that, but if you do, then you get.
So you can see that it's off by a little bit. So let's again, leave these values on here and take 3 or 4 decimal places. Even though we're doing money, take 3 or 4 decimal places because it makes it a little more accurate. Okay. All right. So far, so good. So how much was his payments? 91,552.84. But how much did he actually pay after 6 years? No, just
Well, that,
yes.
130 some.
Yes, you have to add on the 40,380. Okay, so that's what he would have, right? All right. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to find out what he has left owing. Okay, so these are his payments. Now I need to find out. So first things first, I got to do this. I'm going to rewrite that again. So that's minus 586.88. I need the future value And instead of, oh, rats, I better do this over here. So this guy is going to be, instead of that, I'm gonna have 26 payments by 6 years. So it's 26 by 6.
156.
That's right. So I have 156, so that changes. I still have 5. I still have 161, 520. I use those payments. I'm looking for my future value. This is still 26 and 2. Okay, so what I'm looking for right now is my future value right here.
This is still $110,765.55.
110,000.
765.55.
Thank you, buddy. So that's what I have left owing then. You follow that? So that's right here.
Is that with your down payment?
Sorry?
That's what's left.
That's what's left.
You paid your down payment, you paid the rest, that's what's left after the 6 years.
Yeah, so you paid $91,552.84. That's how much you paid. Now remember, that's not how much goes against this value, because a majority of that is interest. Right? So that's how much you put into it, but the bank is taking its money out at that point in time. So okay, so let's do the math on this for 1 second. I want you to think about this. How much have you actually paid off on this house? Just looking at this, just about $61,000, right? Is how much you paid down. But you made $91,555 in payments. So how much of that is interest?
5%.
Oh, I'll just give it to you.
50%. Because
Okay, well, yeah. Sure. Well, what's the value? Approximate value. 30,000. That's right. Okay. So what I'm saying is this: the present value, you borrowed 161,000. After 6 years, you still have 110,000 owing. So that's a difference of about 60,000 that you paid down, right? You paid down 60,000. Everybody understands what I mean there? Okay. But you put 91,000 in payments into it. So how much of that was interest? Well, 91,000 subtract the 60,000, 30,000 of it was interest, which is, like KR said, 50% of what you paid, right? Okay, so far? All right, so the cost of the house after 6 years. Now, our house is depreciated. Our house is depreciated 2%. So how do I show that it's depreciated 2%? We want to find out what it's worth, right? Okay, so to find out the cost of it, or what the house is worth after 6 years, because he's going to sell this house now. So he's going to sell the house. So the original price of the house was $201,900. All right? So I'm going to take that value, I got to cram this, 201,900, and I'm going to times it by 0.98 to the 6.
I thought that it was
0.98 to the 6. It depreciates 2% per year, right? So that means that it's worth 98% of what it was the year before, over 6 years. Go ahead.
178,851.58 cents.
178,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
851.
Yeah.
58 cents.
Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and check our math.
My calculator.
There it is. Yeah. 178,151.58. Okay. So that's what it's worth. Now, if you were to sell that house right now, after the 6 years, what I want to do is I want to find out what my profit was on that house. Okay, how much money did I make off of that house? Well, I'm selling it for this price right now. What have I put into the house after 6 years? How much have I paid into this house so far?
91,000.
Nope.
100.
Plus the down payment. So let's find out what that is. So now you gotta actually calculate that. 91,552.84. Add 40,380.
131,932.
139.
131.
Sorry, just a sec. Again, you gotta be a little louder, Jake. Can't hear above this fan. 131.
932.84 cents.
Perfect. Thanks, Jake. Okay, so I got that. So what's his profit off the house then?
Subtract that from the cost price
Yeah.
of the house.
46,930 or 918. Yeah, 918.74.
Hold on, I got a mistake here. I have an error here. His profit is not using this value right here.
That's not what you paid for 6 years.
No, what his profit is, because he's still, okay, so what's gonna happen here, my bad. I should have explained this better, so I want you to just put your pencils down and listen to what I have. The profit isn't found by taking the cost of the house, like when you sell it, and what you put into it. The cost of the house is, the profit on the house is what the cost was minus how much he has left owing, because he has to pay that off. Okay? So the moment he goes into the bank and he has the 178,000, the first thing he has to do is pay the rest of the mortgage off. Right then and there. So his profit is actually more than what we initially thought, because I have to take this value right here minus what he has left owing, and that's his actual profit on the house. Okay?
It's like $68,086.03.
Okay. Now, here's where we get into, okay, so he's to sell the house right now. His profit on that house is $68,000. Can we understand that? So that house, that original house, is now paid off in full. Right? I paid that initial house off in full. Okay? How much did he pay total on that house?
Would be 178.
It was 131,000, right? What was that number? These two added together.
131,132 something.
131,932.84.
Okay. So he's paid that much, right? That's how much he's put into it. His profit after 6 years was 68,000. So what was the actual cost to him? Well, I'm going to take the amount he pays minus my profit, and that's going to give me how much it actually cost him over 6 years.
$63,346.
$646?
$846.
$846.
81 cents.
Thanks. All right. Okay, so here's what we need to take from this. Okay, a lot of work here, right? A lot of work here. So what we need to figure out then is let's talk about how this could work out better in his favor. How would this work better? Because if he sold that house after 6 years, it basically cost him $63,846.81 to live in that house for 6 years. Which is far less than the $108,000 it cost the other guy, right? But at what point is there going to be a point where he's actually going to not have it cost him to live there? Is there going to be a point where he's going to make money off of that house?
Unless he bought it and rented it out.
Say that again?
Unless he bought it and rented it out.
Okay, there's one thing for sure. Rent it out for that payment. Rent it out for that payment. But then he's still going to have his own living expenses, right? Because he's got to live somewhere. Fine. That is a really, really good idea. Really good idea. And that's a great way to invest. Buy a rental property and rent it out for at least the amount of your mortgage payments, plus you put on the incidentals because there's going to be damages that you have to fix. So you add that on to your rent. So that's 100% correct. But in this particular question right here, I'm just curious, was there a point, all right, was there a point where he's probably going to make money off of the house as opposed to have it cost him? Let's try this a different way. Let's do this same question, and at this point right here, where it's all green, this was all after 6 years, right? Let's do this again after 10 years, and let's find out. Okay, so my N then is, 26 by 10, right? My interest is still 5%. My present value is $161,520. My payments are negative 586. That's an 8. 86.88. My future value, I want to know it. Payments per year, 26. Compounds per year, 2. Okay, so the first thing I want to know then is, let's find out how much he paid in 10 years. So let's do it the quick way. How much he paid? 26 by 10 by 586.88. 26 by 10 by 586.88. How much did he pay? And then add that on to your 40,380.
$129,968.
Is that 40,380 added onto it? No, it can't be. That's less than what we paid over 6 years, Seth. Right? We paid that in 6 years.
192,268.80
Okay. All right. What were my number of payments?
Oh,
My number of payments were what?
oh, wait, altogether?
No.
260.
260 payments, right? I made 260 payments of $586.88 in 10 years.
What was, that's what Jake got, is 192?
Yeah.
That's
I got like 107.
That's what I got too.
107.
I got like 150 or something, and you have 40,000.
See, I got like 67,000 before, and then I put the 4,000.
Oh, Jake, what did you have as your decimal for the payments, Jake?
Payments?
Yeah.
Might have,
Well, no. What did you use? Did you use more than 2 decimals?
no, I just used that.
586.88.
That's what I used to.
I used all of the decimals, and I got 700 more.
Okay, so if I use, let's just use 586.88 because this is just a random question, anyways. Raina's got 193,235.88. But
I think I just typed in one thing with the rest of this.
hold on a second. Oh, that's it. No.
Or you can follow the issue. Future value. What's what we're trying to find?
No. Okay, hold on, guys. We're all doing this wrong.
I thought we were trying to find the future
No,
value.
not yet. No.
That's why I got it wrong. I just-
All I'm trying to do is find out how much I paid in 10 years.
Yeah.
So I take 260 times 586.88. This is how much I paid in 10 years. So I got 152,588.80. Now I gotta add 40,380. So my actual, I got exactly this, Chief. I got the same thing as you.
I got 900, or.
No, you had it right. What's
I
that?
got 268, 900.
Oh,
That's
960.
what I
That's
got.
what I had.
That's what I got.
So what was it? 192,968.80, right? Everybody understand that? So that's how much you actually paid in 10 years, okay? So let's start with that. I'm running out of time here. So now let's go back to our finance, and I do want to find out what the future value is. I want to find out what the future value is. Or actually, we found the cost first. Let's do the cost first, sorry. So the cost is 201,900 times 0.98 to the 10th.
Yeah, 164,966.
0.98?
Yeah. 19966, right?
966 to 97?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what the cost. So if he were to sell the house right now,
Oh, it's 99.
99, sorry. Okay. So if he were to sell the house right now, that's what it would, that's your future value. That's this guy right here.
I got 167, wait, no, 107, and we have solver for that.
I got, what do I get?
He's TVF forward, and just.
Oh, no, I don't want,
Oh.
no, hold on. I don't want that yet. This is all, so this guy right here
Yeah.
was this part.
Yeah.
How much it cost.
Okay.
Like if you were to sell the house, that's what it costs to sell the house after 10 years, because it's depreciated 2% a year. So instead of it being worth $201,900, it's only worth $164,000 now.
So how do you get that?
That's
201,900 times 0.98 to the 10.
Oh, it's inside. So you just,
So it's 10 years, right? It's depreciated 2% a year for 10 years.
I didn't write that value down on my list.
Okay,
This is
So-
a lease app.
not this part. There is a question similar to this that will be on the exam, yes. Okay?
Alright.
But they don't ask you the profits or the cost owing at the end of it, or cost to at the end of it. They will cut it off part way. Okay, so now what I want to do, let's find out, so this is the cost of it, which takes us to right here. So now let's find out, that value is this. Let's find out what the future value is after that, which I did, which is what, 64,000 something. What's the future value? What do you have left on it right now?
Well, I didn't put it in.
I did.
We're looking for the future value now?
Future value, which I got as 67,000.
Yeah, 539 and 11 cents.
539.11, yeah. So that's how much he has left to pay off on the house in the last 5 years of it. Okay? So now I take the cost of the house, which is 164,966.99, and I subtract 110,000, or sorry, I subtract 67,539.11. This is his profit. So what's the profit on the house?
$97,427.88.
$97,427.88. So that's his profit now. Okay? I'm gonna go back one page here. Because I took the cost minus owing. So now to find out how much he paid, I take the amount he paid minus your profit to find out what it cost him. So take the amount he paid, which is $192,968.80. Subtract $97,427.88. You need to pay attention here.
$95,540.
So it cost him $95,000 what? Okay, now that number, did it go up compared to this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it cost him more to live in that house longer, which somewhat makes sense. It somewhat makes sense. It should cost him more, right? But there's no way that I could sell that house and not have it cost money. Why? Sorry?
Because it devalues.
Okay, there's one reason why. Which is not always true. Most of it most times property should appreciate.
And when you sell something, you don't get the interest for it, the bank does, so
There's your
you pay all that extra interest and don't get anything out of it.
There's your issue right there. There's your issue right there. Here's one last thing I want to send with you today, because I know there's a lot. Find out how much he paid total for this house over 15 years. So take $586.88. How many payments per year? 26 times 15 years. What is that number? $228,883. What was that was his payments, right?
I think that's what this is.
That's with his payments. Add on $40,380, Jake.
$269,263.20.
What did it cost to buy the house?
$1,900.
And he paid how much?
$68,000.
$268,000 for a $201,000 house. So he lost $58,000 in interest, right? $58,000 in interest. But because the house depreciated, $68,000 in interest, right? Yeah, you said 268. So $68,000 in interest. That house depreciated to $165,000 after 10 years. Take another 5 years. So he's basically, from what he's paid, he's almost lost how much money? About $100,000 on that house. No, we'll work on it.